Hello and welcome to the Source One podcast. Consider us your source for the latest procurement, supply management, and strategic sourcing insights. Anytime, anywhere.
Hey listeners, welcome back to the Source One podcast. On last week's episode, consultant and spend analysis lead Brian Seipel advocated for a more hands-on approach to tail spend management. On this week's episode, he returns and offers his 5-step plan for approaching tail spend and generating strategic value. Enjoy.
If you think it's time to tackle tail spend in your organization, or are on the fence and need more intel before pulling that trigger, let's discuss a few of the key strategies that make tackling tail spend easier. So, managing tail spend, a 5-step strategic approach. Step 1, conduct a spend analysis. It's the curse of the hammer to see every problem as a nail, and I spend enough time in the world of spend analysis and opportunity assessment that it's usually my go-to recommendation when tackling a procurement problem. Be that as it may, a proper spend analysis really is critical to managing tail spend. Spend data quality will be poor here, significantly worse off than larger core spend items. There will also be little to no consolidation among business units, so data collection will not be a one-stop shop. Finally, supplier names will be a mess, with a dozen different ways to misspell any given supplier name. In fact, let's call it a baker's dozen and consider this example from a very recent client's Einstein Brothers spend. Within this client's data, I found 20 different spellings, ranging from Einstein Bagel to Einstein Brothers to Einstein Bros Bagel. There were a total of 210 transactions across a dozen different operating companies. The median transaction value was about $11.16, over a total of about $4,300, which consequently would allow one to buy nearly 300 boxes of a dozen bagels, were one inclined to feed their entire hometown or build a pretty respectable yet unstable bread-based fort. Keep in mind, our goal is not to dig into those 210 transactions. All we want to do is cleanse those names and aggregate our consolidated spend to arrive at that $4,300 mark, so we can ask the question, is this spend relevant to us? In this case, maybe not. However, we just discussed another pretty relevant example. This same client spends millions with Grainger on industrial supplies. Home Depot, not so much. Tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 a year. Same with Lowe's and Menards and, nearly 100 other tail spend suppliers. Grainger makes up about 10% of total industrial supply spend alone. While these 100K or smaller suppliers are tiny individually, they total around 5% of the spend category when combined, all offering a similar product line to Grainger. So let's ask the same question. Is this tail spend worth looking into? This time I'd say yes, and we'll talk more about that in Step 3. Step 2, preparing internally. After our spend analysis is completed, we'll likely see a few points along our tail where we can make an impact. There will likely be many more points that look tempting but fall outside of our area of expertise, so we don't know how well we can qualify them. Given the small size and, up until now, relative obscurity of tail spend, procurement likely won't have a wealth of category expertise. This means we'll need to seek out such SMEs from relevant departments and business units. Be forewarned, these spend owners and stakeholders hold the same view of tail spend that we held previously. Odds are good they're not going to readily invest their own time and resources into chasing spend they don't see as valuable. As luck would have it, we have the evidence we need in our spend analysis to show them the value. Now is the time to share that analysis with these stakeholders as well as upper management. Get the team on board to champion this cause. Brainstorm ways to bring spend into the light and under management. In fact, these subject matter experts may bring their own ideas to the table. Otherwise, steps 3 and 4 may provide some inspiration as well. Step 3, integrate core spend where possible. We should seek to bring tail spend naturally into the fold using a supplier consolidation strategy. We discussed the relationship between Grainger and Home Depot earlier and should expand on that example now. Now that we've classified our tail in Step 1, try to align these suppliers with our marquee partnerships. Is there enough aggregated spend among them to move the needle in terms of negotiations with bigger suppliers? One easy way to tell is by referencing any tiered discount or rebate structures built into our agreements if we have them. If consolidating our tail suppliers brings us to the next tier threshold, then we've identified a good opportunity. Minimally, we're likely going to net some unit cost savings as well as tiered discount dollars, in addition to any free shipping or other concessions by migrating to our Grainger deal. Even better, we can leverage this additional spend to negotiate better deals with Grainger moving ahead, better terms and better discounts. Ideally, however, our first option shouldn't be to simply consolidate to our incumbent. We found a great carrot for them by bringing in more spend, but what about an equally great stick? As we bring in additional dollars into the light, now is the perfect time to go to market. Identify competitors in the market and issue an RFP using the new and improved market basket containing this tail spend. Now we have a carrot and stick. Incumbents can renegotiate our agreement to earn more of our business or lose it all to a hungry competitor. Step 4. Reduce transaction cost everywhere else. At the end of the day, suppliers stuck in the tail that are purchased from regularly cause a very specific headache. Left unattended, they can start to cost more in terms of handling than they're worth from a product cost perspective. As such, the name of the game now is to minimize the resource impact associated with these suppliers as much as possible. Not all tail spend will naturally roll up into one of our larger suppliers, as discussed in Step 3. That doesn't mean consolidation isn't beneficial. Even if we didn't have our aforementioned Grainger deal, consolidation leads to fewer suppliers and therefore less time spent among your organization's resources. Other strategies help in a similar fashion. We should look for ways to automate and streamline ordering,